red leather. You don't do the red leather anymore.
No.
It's a shame because we do have some.
You're right. But we don't have yellow. Welcome to Downshift, everyone. My name is Paulo.
And my name is Matt, and this is the Lexus IS500, the spiritual successor to the ISF. And it is a great luxury sport sedan. And today we're going to hit the best of the rest. But if you're interested on how this, the main rival to the car that I bought, the M340i from BMW, we're going to do a comparison with that car next week. So stay tuned for that. But now, let's get into the best and the rest. Now the first thing you have to do when getting into this car is to adjust your performance expectations. Now level with me here for a second. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I mean, and then I'm going to cut in some track driving that we did earlier this week with this car. We actually back-to-backed with my M340i, so that video will be coming later. But what you have to do is adjust your performance expectations. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is a very Lexus thing. And the thing that you have to keep in mind is this is not an ISF. They called it the 500F Sport Performance, and that's for a reason. It's not going up against an M3 or a C63 or an RS5 or anything like that. You still have great power, almost 500 horsepower. You've got rear wheel drive, a torque vectoring differential. It makes good sound when you get into the top half of the rev range, and it is fairly fast. The problem is the transmission. Well, I guess there's two problems. The transmission and the brakes. The brakes are going to be fine if you never take it on the track. You're never going to have a problem with brakes. But if you take it to the track, after a couple laps, the pedal's going to start to get a little bit long. It's going to feel squishy. You're not going to have the same stopping power. And that is an indication that it is kind of that mid-grade to go against something like a C43 or an M340 or an S4, and not a true M3 C63 competitor. It's not the full-bore performance, big brake machine, track-oriented machine. We are in traction off Sport S Plus. We're going to do 3 laps. The first we're going to do in auto because I really don't think manual is going to be any faster. The transmission in this car is the thing that ruins it. But here we go. We're going to start our lap. Oh my God. Ooh, brakes are much better. Feels heavier than the BMW. Around a corner. There we go. Brakes are good though. Brakes are good. Now will they be good the entire time? Good power. Braking a little early here. Lift off. Power. I should be overwhelming traction here, but I'm not. So we either have really good tires or still traction is a little bit on. Oh, this immediately feels faster, and it's all tire and brake limited from the BMW. The BMW feels faster, but this has a lot more grip. Its limits are a lot higher. Good trail brake through there. Braking here. Okay, switching to manual. Okay, on the brakes. Good. Good braking. Decent front end. Okay. Oh, it feels heavy. Ooh, downhill braking, a little squirrely. Good power out of the corner though. Manual is definitely the way you want to do it. The gearbox is really the hamstring here. Even in slow manual mode, it's still better than in automatic. Oh yeah, this is fun. This is a fun car. This is a fun car. Okay, and last lap we're going to stay in manual. No lift. Oh, here we go. Oh, brakes getting long. Brakes getting long into turn 1. Come out here, big brakes. Oh, come on. Turn. You big heavy thing. Downhill braking. Good. Love the NA engine. Super predictable power. Super predictable power. Good delivery. And it sounds great too. Oh yeah. This is gonna feel faster. Oh, not if I mess up this last section though. Okay. So as you can see, yes, very good, very fast. It was faster than my M340i actually around that track. Now that's a tight handling course and I have terrible old Bridgestone all-season tires versus what we have here. But still, the point remains, it's fun, it's fast, it's just not that upper echelon, that M3, M4 competition competitor. But still, very fun. And I have to say, all other things aside, the thing that really gets me is the gearbox here. This is a performance-oriented sedan. It even has performance in the name. And the 8-speed gearbox here really hamstrings the car. Even in Sport Plus, you put your foot down and it's gonna short shift at 5,000 RPMs. Okay, we're in Sport S Plus. It's gonna short shift, I'm gonna floor it. 5,000! Again. It won't go to red line, and even just like on the street, it only downshifts 1, my car will downshift 2, and it just feels like it mutes the car. It feels like you're not getting the full experience, and then you have to go into manual mode, which then takes a day and a half to upshift. Downshifts aren't as snappy and cracky as I'd like them to be, and this really would just be fixed. And I don't know how possible it is, I'm not an engineer, but the whole thing would be fixed if you had the 10-speed from the LC 500. The 8-speed is old, it's slow, and I'm sorry that I've just ragged on it so hard, but that's how I feel. Paulo, how do you feel?
I completely agree with you. I will say, I put it in manual mode and I let the car upshift by itself. It'll let it bounce off the rev limiter for a little bit, and it kind of gives you those LC 500 feels. Which is really nice, but agree, it's really slow and lethargic, and if it was the 10-speed, it'd be a lot better.
And the next point is kind of around the age of this car. Now, at its core, it's kind of been around for about a decade, and this is classic Toyota Lexus stuff. Don't fix what's not broken. You have a solid platform here. Big, naturally aspirated V8. This is the only one in the segment that you're gonna get with a V8, and there's something to be said about that. But when it comes to the transmission specifically, feels old, feels a little bit slow. The interior looks very familiar from even a decade ago. The steering wheel, same thing. And it just kind of feels a little bit smaller. It definitely just kind of gives you that feeling that it's from an era that we kind of left a year or two ago or 3. And maybe that's charming and endearing. I think to a lot of people it will be, but definitely something to know if you're looking at something like this. And the next thing you may or may not care about going for a performance sedan, especially one with a 5-liter naturally aspirated V8 and 472 horsepower, but the thing is, it does get 20 mpg, or maybe even a little bit less. And that is what we got here. What did you get on the highway for your 200-mile round trip to the lake this weekend?
Yeah, 19.9.
19.9.
Rounded up to 20.
And when we went up to the track, it's about an hour away from my house, I got 33.4 mpg in my BMW M340i, and this got 20. So maybe you don't care about it, but in order to be thorough, we have to mention it here. And then a little bit of a product of this thing being a little bit older than everything else in the field is the rear seat space. Now, of course, I can straddle the seat and I'll have knee room, but it's not exactly spacious or palatial back here. We also have a 7-story transmission tunnel here in the rear footwell. We don't have chargers back here. We don't have a climate zone back here. We don't have heated seats back here. We do have vents, and we have dual map pockets, and that's about as far as your features go. And if you were expecting headroom as a feature, you'll be disappointed as well. But you do get a shade on your rear window that you can control with a button up there, and it'll go down automatically when you reverse. And yes, a couple cup holders.
I will say, this red leather, it just looks incredible.
I'm not a huge fan of red leather generally, but this is pretty good. And then the thing that really comes down to it for everybody, and it's the price. And it just ends up being a little bit, and it's not a whole lot, but a little bit more expensive than the rest of the competition for what you're getting here. It's an older chassis, it's an older car, smaller rear seat, just rear wheel drive. Starts at about $60,000 for the premium and all the luxury features and everything. We're looking at about $66,000. And at that point, you are getting a pretty well spec'd out M340i from BMW with xDrive all-wheel drive, with luxuries and better tech and a bigger back seat. So it just ends up being a little bit more expensive, but if you're okay with having rear-wheel drive and you don't need to use the back seat that much, it's probably a good value, and it's probably going to be reliable. So maybe that'll save you money in the long run. But switching gears and talking about some of the best things about this car, and there are a lot of good things about this car, but the best thing I think has to be the engine. It's the thing that everybody got all excited about. It's the fact that they did put their 5-liter naturally aspirated iconic Lexus V8 in here. 472 horsepower, 395 pound-feet of torque. I mean, this thing is great. The only thing is, I wish it was a little bit louder. It's gonna have more horsepower, maybe a little bit less torque than a lot of competitors, but it sounds great, it's fast, it's simple, and it's gonna be probably pretty reliable. And you have to love it for that. Followed up with my second favorite thing about the car is just the way that this thing looks. I know you feel the same way, but it just looks fantastic. Very sharp lines, very Lexus, and it looks great. The thing that I have to say though, is if you get this incognito paint color with these upgraded wheels, I think they're like $2,500, at least they were last year, you basically have a launch edition spec car, at least from the outside, because this is exactly how it looked. Now, you don't have the black interior, at least not with this one, and you don't get the little plaque on the dash, but it looks like the launch edition, and that's to say that it looks fantastic. Classic Lexus spindle grille, sharp LED checks. Again, these are the wheels to get. This is probably the best $2,500 option that you could get for this car. F-Sport, black sills, wing mirrors, window treatments. It all just looks really good. I like the little hump that you get here, the slow curve that you get over the flared rear hip. And then around back, you've got probably the most useless spoiler I think I've ever seen. You good?
I almost just fell right there.
We had to change location. We're not used to it. We're still getting our bearings. But look at this spoiler. Like, this is, I don't know. I want it to either be longer or taller, but it needs to be one or the other. It's just not how it is. But I think the back looks good. You've got full LEDs back here as well. And then the black diffuser lower bumper and the classic offset quad tips. Very Lexus. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's the best looking car in the segment, and I really like the incognito. The quad exhaust tips I really like as well. I mean, yeah, not much to say. It's just
hard not to like it.
It's a great looking vehicle. We both said it's probably our favorite in the segment. As I get used to the topography here in this parking lot. Sorry about that.
And earlier in the video, we talked about how this isn't an M3, and we put it on the track, and we said that it's just kind of missing that last tenth or two in performance, but where you make up for that is on the street, on the public roads, when you're just going to work and you're tired, you've had a long day, you're driving home at night, and you're just beat and exhausted. This is such a better place to spend your commute, to spend your time. The damping here is so sophisticated. You've got adaptive shocks, the steering is light, the seats are incredibly comfortable, heated and cooled. It's just so much more refined. It's so much more sedate when you want it to be. Those other cars, even my M340i, always kind of nudge you and remind you, hey, I'm a sports car, I want to be driven a little bit harder. This is happy to just be an IS. And there's something very positive to say about that. Now I'm upset.
Because of your car's audio?
Yes.
Oh.
At least the exhaust audio sounds good.
Exactly.
And then stepping into the interior, of course, it's going to be on the positive side of the video because it's a Lexus, and the Lexus, they just don't really miss on the interior, and it really comes down to the materials that you get here. It's an old design, but it's built really well. There's not really any creaking or rattling or anything, but the leather that you get here, really, really supple, and you get great luxury features. Honestly though, this seat, I have to say, feels like it was molded to my personal back. Like the bolsters are perfect, the seating position is excellent. I've got 3-level heated, 3-level cooled, which I can't get on a 3 Series, and you just have to love that. Heated steering wheel, and it's just really, really nice. Padded leather here for my knee. I've been having like knee issues and like IT band issues, so this has actually been like kind of nice to have. So there's just really not anything that I don't like about this interior. It's a lot of physical stuff for your climate. You do have these funky sliders for your temperature, but it's just nice. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the quality of the build materials in here is just superior to some of the competitors.
It has to be. And the last thing that I will say is the clock that you get here. Every luxury car has to have a center analog clock. And you can't really see here, but I'll lay a B-roll clip. It's got little Lexus L's checked in there to make it look like carbon fiber.
Yeah.
And that's just the coolest thing.
You said it, not me.
I said it. Oh, I said it.
You said it, not me recorded.
Damn, Andy got me on camera. It's a good thing I edit the videos. That would be real risky. And this one's a little bit of a muddy one, but we have to talk about the technology here. It has most stuff, but it's not exactly integrated the best, and it is missing a few things. Things like a head-up display, things like a wireless charger, but you do at least have a CD player, because that's super necessary. But you also have a fully digital instrument cluster, but it's also got a physical component, which is kind of cool, and this is why you buy a Lexus. For that right there. I mean, that's just the coolest thing.
No one in the game is doing that.
No one in the game is doing that. But you do have, as of last year, a touchscreen here, which is kind of nice, so you don't have to use the stupid trackpad anymore. You do have Apple CarPlay. It is wired.
Wired only.
Wired. Whack. And then you have a 360 camera. It's decent. It's not amazing, but it's good enough. It's not showing up on camera, but again, we have B-roll for that. I think the technology stack here is livable, but you seem to have some negative thoughts on it.
I think it's good enough, but it could be a lot better for a car that you're buying in 2024.
I think good enough is a good way to describe it.
Yeah, it's good enough. Yeah, can I sue you? Like if I were to break an ankle right here?
I don't know. We don't have a formal contract, so I don't know. You're just some guy in the park that happens to hold my camera. So I don't have any affiliation with you, legally speaking.
That's nice to say.
I'm not legally bound.
That makes me feel really good.
I'm not going to give you health care if that's what you're asking. And then we'll talk about the trunk. You're not going to get a power trunk here because
you want to save weight.
You want to save weight.
It's heavy as hell.
Allegedly. But you do have a really rectangular opening, maximizes a space for you to put stuff in and out. It's really easy. Very deep this way, very deep that way. You're not going to fold the seats from the back. You will have to go into the cabin to do that. But it's nice, it's big, it's practical. It's everything you could want in a sedan trunk, reasonably. Let's go for a drive. How do I do this? It is recording. Why do I doubt myself? Why are we doing that? What is that? You sound like a lovesick camel. Let's see if it shifts at 5.
No, it did it. It did it exactly where you wanted it to.
I don't get it. Why did it do that for me? I have a video clip of it shifting at 5,000.
Is your foot all the way down?
Yes, you can hear it in the
video.
video.
Now watch.
Okay, we're in Sport S Plus. It's gonna short shift. I'm gonna floor it. 5,000.
This though, when I put in manual mode.
Yes.
You're gonna like this.
Is it gonna make V8 noise?
It will make a really nice.
You're right about that.
It'll make a really nice noise.
Yeah, I like that.
You don't touch it. You don't touch it at all.
Wheel spin. Oh, it auto shifts. Yeah.
There it did.
That felt bad for the transmission.
For some reason,
you just love to destroy transmissions.
No, I don't. But for some reason, it auto shifts in first, but not from second to third.
Second to save itself, and then it's like hoping
I've had
that
enough.
You're like a good person.
Yeah,
will
that's
shift
right.
for it. It demonstrates my favorite thing about this car, and it's the V8-ness, the loudness that you get on the upper half of the rev band.
Yes.
And then the it's not quite LC.
Right.
But I passed it. Emotionally, I'm recovering from it. And I think it's fine.
That was my favorite thing as well.
Okay. Is there anything else that you really liked?
The V8 noises are just great.
That's it. That's why you buy this car.
I love the styling. I think it is
true.
The best in the class, in the segment. I think we both agree on that.
I think, yeah.
And then the third favorite thing is just how comfortable it is to ride. The build materials, the seats, the suspension, the how good it is at the noise, like.
Yeah, cabin isolation.
Yeah, cabin isolation. It is so good. It is so good on long journeys, and that's why you buy it, right? It's just such a refined cabin.
I agree with everything you just said 100%. The funny thing is that's also one of the things that I don't like about it.
Oh yeah,
because when we're on the track, then it still feels like, and I think it really comes down to the gearbox, and that really is the part that makes me feel like this doesn't really want to do the track thing. It doesn't want to do the 10/10ths thing.
Yeah,
It's great at doing the 8/10ths thing, and realistically, in the real world, the people that are actually buying this car probably aren't taking it to a track.
I think you said it nicely. It's a luxury sedan that can do V8 things,
Yes.
not necessarily a sports sedan.
Yes. It feels like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. This feels like a luxury sedan that can do sporty, and the M340i feels like a sports sedan that tries to do luxury.
Yeah. So, like, talking more, I think, in depth about some of the dislikes. I think we both just kind of said it, but the transmission is just not paired well in this instance. I think it needs a 10-speed.
Yep.
The second thing, I love the V8, but I just don't know if it's worth it for two main reasons. One, and this is really minor, honestly, but I think it's worth saying, is just MPG 20, whatever. I can get past that.
It's a big difference, though, on the highway.
The bigger issue I have with it is it's just, we talk about it in the comparison video, it's so hard to get into the zone of fun of like where you really do enjoy the V8. It's
what mode are you in right now?
I'm in Sport Plus.
Sport Plus, and it's shifting. Granted, you're not flooring it, but like
yeah, it's shifting really
it's
early.
Shifting at 3,000.
You
and
really
the
only
baffles
hear
don't open until 3,500. Like that's the whole point of the car. The whole point of the car for me is over 3,500. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You're good.
But it just kind of nerfs itself.
Yeah, and I think it's like, to that point, it's really hard to get it in the zone where this thing is like really fun, and you get to experience what this thing truly has to offer. It's a fine window, and it's kind of hard to get there.
It does make you work.
It kind of goes to like the third point, which is it's not a true F car. It's an F Sport.
And I think they named it intelligently. Had they called it the ISF, I would have had more things to put on the dislike list.
Yeah.
But since it's the IS500 F Sport Performance, then I can forgive some of that stuff.
Yeah.
If you put the 10-speed in here and better brakes, ISF.
Yeah.
I could be convinced. Maybe a more aggressive suspension, but I would see it.
I think it's
easy things to do.
It's so good to being great. And I know we kind of harped on it a little bit and like had a few more negative things to say than the positive. All that to say, I still think it's a really close, like, in terms of what we would purchase, this or the M340i, like, it's a lot closer than I think the dislikes and likes list gives off.
Yeah, I think this is what it comes down to with our video format, is where it's like we do it so objectively that it's like this does have the smallest rear seat and it doesn't have the most technology, so those have to be cons, but the fact is you still can sit back there and it's still like decent stuff.
It's good enough.
It's good enough. So yeah, it does lend itself to a misleadingly negative review, I guess you would say. Because yeah, I do like this thing. It's like 8/10ths to where I want it to be. That's it. That's like everything I want from this car. Right there.
Yeah, just it's a fine window and you kind of have to work to get to it. But
yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you to Lexus for letting us have a go. Thank you to you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.